After the launch of the Xiaomi 17 Ultra and the X300 Ultra, Android Ultra phone pricing this year has more or less settled into place. Even the upcoming X9 Ultra in the 16GB plus 512GB variant, which is set to release on April 21st, is expected to come with a price bump compared to the previous model. Because of that, I'd suggest holding off and waiting until new flagship devices are officially announced before making a decision. That said, today's video is all about unboxing the retail version of the X300 Ultra with 16GB RAM and 1TB storage and taking a closer look at how it performs. A quick shout out to my tech partner from China for sharing this video. A big thank you for making this possible. Hey everyone, it's Maiky from Maiky. If you love staying updated with the latest gadgets, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our exciting tech content. The packaging of the Vivo X series from the X90 all the way to the current X300 lineup has consistently followed that square lunchbox style design. This time around, there's a small change. While the X200 Ultra featured a pull-out divider in the middle of the sleeve, the X300 Ultra comes with a side-opening triangular handle instead. Inside the lower section of the box, on the left side, you'll find a solid color matte TPU case, very similar to the one included with the X300 Pro. The Ultra version does have a slightly raised logo, but once it's on the phone, the overall look feels almost identical to the previous generation without any major visual changes. On the right side, there's a 100-watt charger. Vivo has brought back the port charger that we previously saw with the X100 Pro, and it's actually quite useful for charging multiple devices like a laptop at the same time. At the moment, it appears to be the same charger used with this year's iQOO 15. As for the X300 Pro's charger, its USB-A compatibility is so limited that I personally haven't found myself using it at all. The X300 Ultra is available in 3 color options this year, and honestly, the real-life appearance differs quite a bit from the official renders. The black version has a wave pattern design on the back, but it doesn't feel very durable, so it wouldn't be my top pick. The silver variant looks quite bold in the renders with its mountain-like texture, but in real life, it appears more like a subtle silver gray or silver white, depending on the lighting. The texture isn't very noticeable, and from certain angles, it even looks like plain white glass. The film green version that I chose also features a two-tone design, but since it doesn't include any complex textures, it ends up looking cleaner and more visually appealing overall. This time, the placement of the two-tone design has been shifted from the top, as seen on the X200 Ultra, down to the bottom. If you ignore the logo, I actually think the overall design looks quite nice. However, the Vivo logo placement introduces a small issue. The margins on the silver section aren't perfectly symmetrical, so when you look at the phone from an angle, the logo appears slightly shifted to the right, which feels a bit off visually. That said, on the silver and black versions, the logo color blends more naturally with the body, so it's less noticeable. On the film green variant though, the contrast makes it stand out more abruptly. The two-tone finish itself is similar to last year's X200 Ultra, with stitching beneath the surface that creates a smooth, unified feel without any uneven edges. When comparing the back panel to the X300 Pro, the Ultra's matte texture feels a bit more refined, although it doesn't have as strong of a grip or resistance. There are also a couple of small design details worth pointing out. On the black version, the fiberglass back panel has a different thickness, which results in a separate opening for the flash. When you touch it, you can clearly feel a slight indentation in that area. Additionally, the lens ring design is similar to the Pro model, featuring a support-like structure. However, because there's a silver metal ring connecting it to the lens glass, the contrast between these elements becomes quite noticeable on the two-tone versions. If having a seamless-looking back is important to you, the black version might still be the better choice. Moving to the front, the X300 Ultra continues with a small rounded corner design. Personally, compared to the X300S or the X300 Pro, the front doesn't feel quite as refined this time. The 2K resolution display also results in slightly thicker bezels. After switching to a flat screen, the overall size of the phone actually reminded me of the X8 Ultra, since their dimensions are almost identical. I'm planning to try fitting a leftover tempered glass protector from the X8 Ultra onto this device later, and we'll share how well it fits. As for the buttons, Vivo has removed both the dedicated camera button and the customizable multifunction button that used to sit in the upper left corner on the X300 Pro. When I was using the Pro, I had that custom button set up for a long press to switch to silent mode and a double press to open the camera, which was really convenient in daily use. While I don't mind the removal of the camera button too much, losing the customizable button is definitely disappointing. It's something we've seen happen quite often with domestic smartphones. Useful features or hardware elements tend to disappear over time instead of being refined and turned into unique selling points. Let's start with fingerprint setup. When you're registering your fingerprint, you don't have to awkwardly rotate the phone in one hand the whole time. You can actually switch between both hands during the process, which makes it quicker and a lot more convenient. Now moving on to data transfer. If you have a USB 3.0 or higher cable and your previous Vivo phone supports high-speed wired transfer, I strongly suggest using Vivo's cable transfer feature. For example, using the X300 Pro, you tap Agree in the transfer section, and you'll see the option for data cable connection. But don't jump in just yet. On your old phone, go to Transfer, choose One-Click Transfer, then select I am the old device and connect both phones with the cable. Once they're connected, choose Data Cable Connection. Sometimes it might show an error or fail to detect the device right away, which can happen. If that happens, just go back, reselect I am the old device, pick Vivo, reconnect, and then select the cable connection option again. After that, a confirmation pop-up will appear asking if you want to export data to the new device. Just tap OK, grant all the required permissions, and it will detect everything that can be transferred. Make sure to hit Select All so nothing gets left behind. For reference, my X300 Pro had around 230 gigabytes of data. During the transfer to the Ultra, the peak speed hit roughly 400 megabyte presets, around 411.5 megabytes presets. Even though the system estimated about 21 minutes remaining, in reality, it's much faster. From past experience, transferring over 300 gigabytes took around 15 minutes. So for 200 gigabytes, it usually finishes in under 10 minutes. Another big advantage is that since both devices run on the same system, many apps don't require logging in again after the transfer, which saves a lot of time. Overall, Vivo's wired transfer really takes full advantage of high-speed connections and offers a smooth switching experience. I honestly hope other brands, especially Xiaomi, improve in this area because relying on unstable wireless transfers can be pretty frustrating and unpredictable. Anyway, let's place both phones here and complete the transfer. And just like that, it's done. Around 230 gigabytes moved over in roughly 9 to 10 minutes. Taking a closer look at the transferred data, it mainly includes essential apps and a lot of games, which take up most of the space. For example, Honkai Impact is about 37.5 gigabytes, Genshin Impact takes up around 45 gigabytes, and League of Legends Mobile is over 24 gigabytes. So yeah, that's where most of the storage goes. After the transfer, the phone prompts you to set the screen color temperature, which you can adjust to your liking. Now let's talk about the camera. This year, the UI on the X300 Ultra has seen some noticeable changes. When you first open the gallery or camera interface, the system actually suggests customizing the main function menu. Personally, I like placing the native lighting and shadow controls on the right side for quicker access. You can also move the pixel mode there if you want easier adjustments. If you prefer a cleaner look, you can even remove these options entirely and keep things minimal. Once you're done, just hit done, and you'll have a simple and intuitive camera layout. One feature I really like this year is the color palette tool. The way it works is pretty straightforward. You adjust color intensity by sliding left or right, and then control tonal intensity by moving up and down. You can think of tonal intensity as a kind of contrast adjustment, similar to how contrast works in image editing. That said, from my initial experience, the advanced settings feel a bit buried. For example, if I want to tweak sharpness, I first have to tap the color style option, then go into the color palette again, and only then can I find the advanced settings in the bottom right corner. Once inside, the first option shown is exposure, and I have to scroll quite far to reach sharpness. While it does allow multiple preset configurations, the overall process still feels a bit complicated and could definitely be improved. As for the X300 Ultra's camera performance, including its color tuning, new shooting modes, video stability improvements, and overall daily experience, I'll be doing a detailed comparison later with the X300 Pro and the Xiaomi 17 Ultra Leica Edition. So stay tuned for that. I'll spend more time using the 300 Ultra as my main device and bring you a full in-depth review soon. That's it for this quick unboxing and first impressions. If you enjoyed the video, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.